In this video, we are going to check out the second part of theory of income and employment. Now in this, we will check out propensity to consume or consumption function. Okay, now what is propensity to consume or consumption function? Consumption function shows the functional relationship between desired consumption expenditure and income. Okay, that is C is a function of Y, that is income. F stands for function. Now it is divided in two parts: average propensity to consume and marginal propensity to consume. Now what is average propensity to consume? Average propensity to consume refers to the proportion of income devoted to consumption. Okay, and marginal propensity to consume refers to the ratio of change in consumption to change in income. Now this we will study in a better form ahead. Okay, in better form, that means I will explain you systematically the formula, equations and everything. Here you just understand what is average propensity to consume and marginal propensity to consume. Fine, here diagram is also given, you can check out the graph. Let's understand the topic propensity to consume. Okay, now what is the propensity to consume? Propensity to consume means my criteria of consuming. That means in 1 rupee how much I will consume. Okay, so that is what, why you can say 1 rupee or you can say 100 paisa. In 1 rupee or 100 paisa, how much I will consume and how much I will save. So in case of propensity to consume, we have two parts, that is APC and MPC. Now what is APC? APC means average propensity to consume. Okay, what is APC? APC is average propensity to consume. Now what is MPC? MPC is marginal propensity to consume. I hope you all remember, since long I am explaining you about marginal word meaning. Okay, so do remember marginal here also means same. Now only thing which changes propensity to consume, again that means additional unit of consumption. Okay, now I will study average propensity to consume, the formula for that. Okay, so that means I am learning consumption function, consumption as a function of income. Okay, now if I will take my consumption as a function of income, that means how much part of income I am consuming. I hope you remember whenever I was explaining you how to get the ratio, that means how to understand the one part out of the total. So how you were doing? You remember when we were finding out average mean? Do you remember we have to find out the average of total marks, right? So how you find out? You say total marks and then you divide it with number of students, right? That is total number of students. This is how you find out. Here also we will do the same. Now how I will find out my average propensity to consume? I will find out my average propensity to consume with total consumption, okay, upon my total income. Fine. Now total consumption is denoted by C and total income is denoted by Y. So what is the formula for average propensity to consume? C upon Y. Fine. Now marginal. Marginal means additional. Additional unit means the change, right? Now change in what? Change in my consumption. So I will take del C. Del C is what? Del C is what? Change in consumption. Okay. So del C denotes change in consumption. Again it will be del Y. Del Y, that is change in my income. Fine. So MPC is what? Del C, that is change in consumption upon change in income. So this is how I will find out. Let's check out this schedule so that you can get it better. Now you can check out my income. What is my income? 0, 100, 200, 300, 400. Okay, this is 400. Fine. Now at income 0, what is my consumption? My consumption is 40. Okay, now I want to find out APC, that is average propensity to consume. What formula I have studied? I have studied a formula that it is C upon Y. Okay, C, that is the amount which I have consumed from the total y, that is my income. Okay, now when I'll go on the first part, what is my income? My income is 0, my consumption is 40. That means I will have no average propensity to consume. Same way, at first level of income, there is no change in consumption, no change in income. Fine. So again, I will not have anything MPC. At second level, when I have my income 100, what is my consumption? 120. What was my formula? C upon Y for APC. Now I want to find out APC. What is my consumption? 120 upon 100. So this will give me 1.2. APC is what? 1.2. Same way MPC. Now I'll find out what is the change in consumption. Check out what is the change in consumption. If I'll reduce 120 minus 40, it will give me 80. Fine. So what is my change in consumption? 80. Same way, what is the change in income? 0 to 100. It will give me 100. If I divide 80 divided by 100, I will get 0.8. That is 0.8. Fine. Same way, if I divide from 200 to 100, same, I will get my APC as 1. Okay. Now if I see my MPC, what is my change in income? 100. What is my change in consumption? 80. So it is again 80 upon 100, which will give me 0.8. Okay, that is 0.8. Fine. Same, if I check out over here, if I divide 280 by 300, it will give me something 0.93. I think 3 will recur. Okay, so just check it out. Here again the change is same, that is 80 upon 100. So it will give me 0.8. Fine. Now this one, if I divide, this will give me exact 9. That is 0.9. And this again the change is same. So answer will be same, 0.8. So this is propensity to consume. Am I clear with the topic? Now next is propensity to save or saving function. Saving function shows the functional relationship between the amount of saving to income. That means we will check out S as a function of income. S equals to the function of Y, that is income. Again it is divided in two parts, that is average propensity to save and marginal propensity to save. Now what is average propensity to save? Average propensity to save refers to portion of income that is saved. Okay, now what is marginal propensity to save? Marginal propensity of saving is the ratio of change in total desired saving to the change in total income. Do remember, ahead again I will explain you with all numericals and graphs and everything, but here you can check out the graph. See, at one point it is showing your consumption and your income, and here it is showing saving. So wherever you can see, wherever my saving is equals to 0, my consumption and income is matching. Okay, so if I will take 1 point behind, that means if I will take that where my saving is 0, or you can say my consumption and income is matching, if I will take 1 point behind, that will show that I have a dissaving. Dissaving, that means my consumption is more than my income. Fine. And if I'll take 1 point ahead, that means y0, that is the point where saving is 0. Okay, so if I'll take 1 point ahead, again you will check out that what is happening here. You will see my saving is increasing, that is my income is increasing. Okay, so my income is increasing and my consumption is reducing. That means what is happening, my saving is increasing over here. Now let's understand propensity to save. Again, propensity to save is divided in two parts, which are that is APS and MPS. Now what is APS? Again, APS is average propensity to save. Okay. MPS, again it is marginal propensity to save. I hope you still remember that I have explained you again and again what is the meaning of marginal. Marginal means additional unit which is been added to the total. So that is marginal propensity to save. Now what I will do, I will study saving as a function of income. Okay, so I am studying what? Saving as a function of income. So when I will study saving as a function of income, again I will take same way. I'll say average propensity to save. How I will calculate? I will take my total savings upon my income. Fine. Same way, if I take marginal propensity to save, what I will do? I will take change in my saving, that is del S, again then change in my income, that is del Y. I hope you understand with these two formulas. Fine. Now let's check out this schedule. See schedule, again income 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, right? Now what is my consumption? 40, 120, 200, 280, 360. Here I have to calculate what? Savings. Now what is my savings? How I will calculate my savings? I hope you remember in last videos I have given you a formula for saving. What is saving? Saving is equals to what? Income minus consumption. Now when I will reduce income minus consumption, what saving I will get? I will get minus 40. I hope you remember this is my autonomous consumption, compulsory consumption. That means I have a this saving. This saving, that means I have removed my previous saving. Fine. Now if I want to find out APS, what was my formula for APS? S by Y. Now what is my savings? Minus 40. Fine. What is my income? 0. That means there won't be any APS. Same way, no calculation for MPS also. Now if I check out on second level, when my income is 100, my consumption is 120. What is my saving? 20, minus 20. Okay. Now if I will calculate my APS, that is savings upon income, it will give me minus 0.2. Okay, that is 0.2. Same way, if I will calculate my MPS, I will calculate change in my saving. Now what is change in my saving? See, you will see how am I getting 0.2. It's very simple it is. See what is change in my savings. If I will calculate change in my savings, that is minus 20. Now I will reduce this minus with minus 40. Finally what I will get? I will get minus 20 plus 40. So what is the change in my saving? That is 20. Fine. What is the change in my income? 100. So it will give me what? 0.2. Fine. I hope this is clear. Same way, if I will check out the next one, that is when my income is 200, consumption is 200, there is no savings, again APS will be nil. Why? Because my saving is 0 and income is 200. So 0 by 200, that means no calculation. Fine. Now if I will say my MPS, yes, definitely it will have calculation, because I will check out my change in saving. What is my change in saving? 0 minus 20, it will give me again plus 20. What is the change in my income? That is 100, and it will give me again 0.2. Okay. Same if I will check out this, I will divide 200 by 300. Now if I will divide 200 by 300, it will give me 0.06. 6 will recur. As it is greater than 5, I will take it 0.07. Okay, so it will be 0.07. If I will calculate this, you can check out, it will again come 0.20. Now here, if I will divide 40 divided by 400, I will get 0.1. And my MPS will be again same, it will be 0.2. So this is propensity to save. I hope I am clear with the two topics, that is propensity to consume and propensity to save. Now let's understand the relationship between average propensity to consume and average propensity to save. Likewise, we will also study marginal propensity to consume and marginal propensity to save. Fine. Now what I say average propensity to consume plus average propensity to save is equals to 1. Okay, this I will prove. Now how I will prove? What relationship they have? See, what we have studied, when we have income, either we consume it or we save it, right? Now how much we save, how much we consume, that is, if we add up, that will give me ultimate result 1. This is what we are going to study. Now what I'll do, I will divide the whole equation, okay, equation by y. Fine. Now let's divide the whole equation by y. Okay, see, I have divided the whole equation by y. This gets reduced Fine. Now this will give me result what? 1. Now what we have studied? We have studied that what is the formula for C by Y, or that means C by Y stands for what? C by Y stands for average propensity to consume, right? Now S by Y, this stands for what? This is a formula of average propensity to save. See, average propensity to consume plus average propensity to save, the total of it will give me 1. Now if I want to find out APS, even I can find out by reducing APC from 1. How? I will take this over here. 1 minus APC will result in APS. So this is what the relationship between APC and APS. So APC plus APS will give me result ultimately what? 1. Likewise MPC and MPS. Again I'll say, what was the what we study in MPC and MPS? We studied change, right? So change we have studied. So what I will do, I will again take the same formula, that is income, change in consumption plus change in savings, right? Same formula I have taken, the only thing with change, that is del, that is marginal. Okay, now again what I'll do, I will divide the whole equation by del y. Fine. Now if I will divide the whole equation by del y, what I will get, this is what I will find out here. See, I am dividing the whole equation, that means the above equation, by y. Again I will reduce this. This will give me result 1. Now del C upon del y stands for what? That stands for MPC. Now del S upon del y stands for what? That stands for MPS. See, MPC plus MPS will give me what result? 1. Now even I can find out MPS by reducing MPC from 1, this way. So I hope you understood what is the relationship between APC and APS and MPC and MPS. Fine. Now let us understand the same relationship with this schedule. See what I have make you understand. I said that APC plus APS equals to 1. Fine. See, in first part you will not understand. Check out in second part. What is my APC? My APC is 1.2. Now here what is my APS? Minus 0.2. Now if I will say APC is plus 1.2 and my APS is minus 0.2. See, if I will calculate, I will get the result 1. Okay. Likewise, if I will calculate MPC plus MPS, even it will give me result 1. See, what is my MPC? It is 0.8. What is my MPS? 0.2. See, if I will add 0.8 plus 0.2, this will give me again result 1. So this is the explanation in a schedule form, the one which I have explained you, the formula. Okay, the calculation way. Same way we can explain it in schedule form. See, ultimately whenever I will add APC plus APS, I will get 1. Whenever I will add MPC plus MPS, I will get 1. Now let us understand determination of equilibrium income and output. To determine equilibrium income, there are two approaches available. First is aggregate demand and aggregate supply approach, saving and investment approach. Now first, aggregate demand and aggregate supply approach. In terms of ADAS, that is aggregate demand and aggregate supply approach, equilibrium level of income and output in the economy is the one where the aggregate demand for goods and services. What do you mean by aggregate demand for goods and services? That is total demand for goods and services is equals to aggregate supply. That means aggregate supply of goods and services. Okay. So AD comprises of what? Planned consumption expenditure and planned investment expenditure. So therefore AD curve is represented by what? C plus I. Here again and again I mark line one thing, that is investment curve is a horizontal line because investment expenditure is assumed to be what? Autonomous. Okay. Now after the explanation, I have given you a diagram. Now in that diagram you check the panel 1. Fine. Now there income is measured on x-axis and investment are shown on y-axis. The aggregate demand curve intersects the aggregate supply curve at point E, which is equilibrium point. Okay, now equilibrium point means what point? It is determining income level. Okay, now here purchaser can fulfill their spending plans and firms are able to sell the desired product. Okay, now suppose the output produced in the economy is y1. Fine. Planned expenditure by1 is less than the production ay1 by AB amount. Therefore firms are able to sell lesser amount than they are producing. Okay, so what happened in that case when my by1 is less than the production ay1, okay, by AB? So what happened? The firm are able to sell lesser amount than they are producing. This stock of inventories induce firm to reduce production and income until YO. How we are getting equilibrium? Likewise the way we have done in microeconomics, same, that forces work out. Okay, but here only the force is working at national level, that is on aggregate level. Fine. So all the force will work out when it is a case when your demand is less and your what production is more. So what will happen in that case? When the forces will work out, the production will reduce. Fine. Suppose income level is lower at y2. Okay, planned expenditure gy2 is greater than the production hy2 by gh amount. Firms find their stock of inventory falling. They increase their production and income up to the level of yo, that is y0. So what happened? Again, when they see that their production level is falling, their demand is falling, what they do? They increase the income level also and the production level also. So that is how the things work out in the economy. Now next is saving and investment approach. Now equilibrium level of income is determined where planned investment equals planned investment. Okay, at OY0. Level of income. Saving curves intersect investment curve. You will check out in the diagram that OY0 level saving curve intersect investment curve. Okay. Now at this level of income, OY0 aggregate demand equals aggregate supply. Now at OY1 saving exceeds planned investment by AB amount. Here AS exceeds AD since consumption is low due to high savings. Inventories will pile up with the producer and firm will cut down production and lay off workers. As a result, the level of income, output, employment will decrease till OY0. Now what happened? Now when my saving exceeds, okay, so what will be the result? No doubt I will spend less. If I will spend less, so what will happen? The inventories, that is stock, will remain with the seller, right? Now if at all seller will have the stock, so what he will do? He will stop the production. He will cut down the employment level. Fine. Now if he will cut down the employment level, what will be the result? There will be less income. Now if there will be less income, that means again it will be reduced to OY0. Now if the level of income is OY2, that means it is reduced. OY1 is the increased income, OY2 is the reduced income. Now the planned investment of firm exceeds saving of household. Exceeds saving of household, that means saving is more. Now what will be the condition over there? What will happen? As a result, firm will like to expand production and hire more worker. Okay, so to what happened? To build up their inventories, because they will have more, they want more production. Why? Because the demand is there in the economy. This will leads to what? Rise in income level and even employment level. Again the level will come to OY0. So I hope this is clear. You will check out the diagram ahead. I have explained you the diagram according to the one which I have explained you theoretical. Okay. Now let's understand the topic determination of equilibrium. Now what is determination of equilibrium? We have two approaches to determine equilibrium over here. First is AD and AS approach. Now what is AD and AS approach? AD, that is aggregate demand and aggregate supply approach. Okay, then second is S and I approach, that is saving and investment approach. AD and AS approach, what we are proving over here? We are proving that AD is equals to AS. Fine. Now in case of S and I approach, what we are proving over here? We are proving that S is equals to I. How? See, if AD is equals to AS, okay, fine. So what we will say, what we have studied about AD? What was the equation for AD? That was C plus I, right? Now if I say AS, aggregate supply, what was the equation for aggregate supply? It was C plus S. Fine. Now what I will do? See, my C gets reduced. Ultimately, what is the result? That is I equals to S. Fine. So that means my investment is equals to saving. So that is what it will be. The one which we have studied prior, we will study in diagrammatic form also, and I have proved that how my investment and savings get equal. Now let's understand the diagram for this. Now this is the diagram for the determination of equilibrium. You can say AD and AS approach and saving and investment approach. See, if AD and AS approach is asked, only this part, that is first part of the diagram, can be checked out. But if saving and investment approach is asked, you have to make a complete diagram. Now how? See, you know this graph very well. Now this is what? This is my investment. Investment is a parallel horizontal line which is parallel to x-axis. Fine. Now this part is what? This part is my autonomous consumption, that can be denoted by small a. Fine. Now this line will show me what? AD and AS. That means where my aggregate demand and aggregate supply gets equal. Fine. Now we have, I hope you remember microeconomics, just now we studied that when the market comes in equilibrium. When was the market in equilibrium? When my demand and supply, this is my demand and this is my supply, that means market demand and market supply, individual. Fine. So when they meet, that was the point of equilibrium, right? What here we are studying? We are studying about the whole economy. This is not micro, this is macro. Macro, that means whole economy. Whole economy means we cannot study individual. What we can study? We will study sum total. Sum total, that is aggregate supply and aggregate demand. Okay, so this is what we are going to study over here. Now if I'll say this is my investment, you know consumption touches with the investment and it starts from there. Now again AD, that is my aggregate demand, is what? Is a parallel line with the consumption. Fine. Why? Because it is the addition of investment plus consumption. Fine. Now my aggregate supply will start from origin, which is 45 degrees. Fine. Now I will check out my saving ka part. This is my disinvestment. That means the part when I have a negative saving. That means my autonomous consumption part. Fine. Now when I'll check out my diagram, I'll see wherever my aggregate and aggregate demand, aggregate supply and aggregate demand meet, that is the point of equilibrium. Now that is the same point where my saving and investment matches. Okay, that means my saving equals to the investment. Now the point where my consumption and, just check out my consumption and my aggregate supply, my income. What is aggregate supply? Aggregate supply is also known as income, right? Now where my income, or you can say aggregate supply and consumption matches, this is point H. Now at that point my saving is what? 0. So wherever my consumption equals to income, saving is what? Saving is equals to 0. Okay, this you have to remember. Now wherever my aggregate supply and aggregate demand matches, that is the point where my aggregate demand will be equals to aggregate supply, that is the point where my saving will be equals to investment. Okay, so this is the complete diagram which shows you both the approach.